Welcome to Rock the Life, a podcast for fans by fans. I'm Katya.
I'm Amy.
And Amy, this is part one of a delightful episode with someone you met at a show. And
Mhm.
Jeff
Mhm.
Anderson, youth pastor,
Mhm.
concert promoter now of the band Disciple.
Mhm. Yeah.
He has some wonderful stories that I can't wait for
Mhm.
everyone to hear. And
Mhm.
we had
Mhm.
so much fun talking to him. I'm so glad you introduced me to him.
He's amazing. Nice guy. I can't wait to work with him again. He actually has, if you're in Oregon, Sidewalk Prophets coming April 29th. It's like a Sunday. Maybe it's the 27th. I'm sorry. It's April 27th because I can't go because we've got so much going on. But that will be at his same church in Dallas, Oregon. So if you are in the area and you want to check out Sidewalk Prophets, leave us a message, drop us a comment, and I will connect you and make sure that that happens for you. But other than that, this, like you said, this is a part one. We had a really fun conversation, and I really hope you enjoy it, guys. Here's Jeff.
Here's Jeff.
Yeah.
Hi, Jeff. Welcome to Rock the Life. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm just in awe. Just you two are so famous, and to see your faces right here.
Oh
We
my
just
God,
have a good time. That's all it
you're
is.
making me, yeah, you're making me giggle. Well, and actually, Jeff, in my mind, you're famous because
Mm.
Amy has been talking about you and telling me all about you. So that's kind of
Oh,
fun. I was really excited to have the chance to talk to you. So, okay,
Mm.
to kick things off, we are going to talk about the band Disciple, which is one of Amy's favorite bands.
Mhm.
But you have a special connection to Disciple too. So, how did you first get involved with Disciple?
well, do you want the short or the middle longer version of this?
Middle longer.
Okay, you guys like music, and I do too. So we can go
Mhm.
through a little bit of my musical journey because I'm a little bit more. But there's probably others like me, but I can't say back in 1982, Disciple. Well, they weren't, singing back then, but it doesn't go back that far. So my music starts actually with what you guys like and still like, the hair metal bands. I can't say there was one big
Excellent.
one. Guns N' Roses was up there,
Mhm.
but in the 80s. I started listening to music. You'll like this one. My parents they were really good parents, but they had a curfew for me, and my bedroom was right next to theirs. So I would fall asleep with my ear on my AM FM radio clock with the volume all the way down. If I laid right on it, I could still hear something. So I was listening to Z100 and Portland's Q105. That I did a little research. That it's
Mm.
changed things over the years, but that was how I could find music, top 40. My first thing I ever won that I recall winning was a tape cassette of Poison's second album from Q105. I was like the whatever caller and got a tape. I think it was whatever the second album was. Open Up and Say Ah, I think is
Mhm.
what it
Wake up and
was.
say,
Mhm.
So
yep, open up and say,
um,
oh, yeah.
so I go from that, and then I go to college. And in college, I started with my first deep dive was really U2. U2 was the first band
Oh, yeah.
I I liked them so much that I got every album from Boy all the way to Achtung Baby. I had all of their. This is dating myself, but I had cassettes. I had their whole
Mhm.
cassette
Yeah.
selection, and then at Achtung Baby, I something about that. No offense to you too. They've been together all these years and great music, but I that's when my love interest with you two kind of basically, I guess, plateaued at that point. And then I went back in time, thanks to a roommate or two, friends of mine, and found Pink Floyd and The Doors. And I went backwards into the
Oh,
70s and loved Pink
I
Floyd.
love the Doors.
Beautiful music. The Doors, his
Mhm.
combination of poetry. And now but I'm kind of like torn here. I like beautiful music. When I had to stay up all night, I would actually about midnight I'd put in Beethoven of all things. I'd put in
Mm,
Beethoven's
yeah.
Fifth or Ninth Symphony, and that would keep me going until I had to make my first pot of coffee at around 4 a.m. and then I'd make my all-nighters for college work. But while I like that, there was something going back to if I look back to the favorite music, it would be like Metallica's Enter Sandman. The
Mm.
start of that
Ah,
song,
yeah.
just the the
Mhm.
heavy guitar combined with the vocals. Uh, I look back and I go, that just opened my eyes up. So right about I'm going through this renaissance and going back to the music that I didn't listen to, and Led Zeppelin's in there, of course, too, and the Who
God.
and all these bands. Grunge comes out as I'm in
Hmm.
Mhm.
college, so I'm going backwards and forwards with music, and I said goodbye to the hair metal. I still appreciate what they did, but I'm not a massive hair metal fan anymore. Don't own any music or anything, so I went with grunge. And also backwards in time too, like basically Pink Floyd was my number one band. The Wall is still one of my most favorite albums, just the story that they told. And they did music.
Mhm.
I had a job, probably as a volunteer, but on campus I was a radio DJ for our on-campus radio
Oh.
station. I never got a complaint, so I don't think anybody was listening to it. But
No, they
I
just
would
loved
just
your music.
yes, of course. Who could complain?
Oh,
But
that's
I
funny.
was a lazy DJ. I'd put on any CD by Pink Floyd because at that point I collected my Pink Floyd CDs. Put on the wall and just listen for 2 hours and listen to the wall.
Nice.
Just the songs don't end like most songs. There's a start and end,
Mhm.
and then the next
Mhm.
song starts and my talking is like Pink Floyd. I just never stop, right? Just keeps right on. So put on the wall and on I go. But as I went through and I don't blame Pink Floyd for moving me into a depression or even psychedelic rock.
Oh,
That was a big part of my life, and I was going downhill. I was doing things on my own power and turning to alcohol, turning to light drugs. I would say marijuana, but went down that path, and I kept doing things on my own power. And it ended or culminated with I had a chance to do a year studying abroad in Vienna, in Austria, and had a wonderful experience. My music took a bit of an interlude. I got into what techno music was, and this is 1995, 96 in Europe. And I swear the
Mhm.
song that was most popular at all the bars and parties and clubs I went to in that year was the Macarena, which was like, it was 3 years old. I'd never heard of it before, never listened to it, but they loved it. And it was, there is something about, a whole bar or a whole party
oh my
of
Right.
inebriated college students doing the
Yeah.
Macarena.
Yeah.
So there
That's
was that, and my
awesome.
first concert, or might have been my second concert, but I got to see Hootie and the Blowfish in Vienna, which
Oh.
was
Hootie.
quite a hoot. I
Yeah.
never been a massive fan. I more of a one-hit wonder to me. No offense to Hootie and the Blowfish fans, but it was fun. It was a fun experience, and I, I, I definitely love music. I grew up. I had a choice in the '80s to continue playing basketball or piano, and I went sports, and not a regret, but Jeff of today would tell Jeff of 12 years
Mhm.
old, sports is only going to go so far. You're vertically challenged. You're not going to get to 5'6". You're in the wrong sport, if
Your
anything.
body gets old too. Like,
That
at our
too.
age, I was like, music. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely so. While I was over in Europe, I had an encounter with God, and I had grown up at a church and at a Christian school, and did my own thing in college. And as I became aware or awake of things and doing my own thing, it just got sadder and sadder for me. So I was reading a letter from my mom because this is before email, so I'm dating myself
Mhm.
again. But I read
No.
this letter, and she had given me an opportunity to when I came back to the U.S. after my year in Vienna, she would pay for 1 year of Bible seminary. And I chuckled. I even rolled my eyes. I'm like, and then I heard this voice. I can't tell you what it sounded like, but this voice, it was in English. And there was only two people in the room. They weren't even close to me and they weren't speaking English. It was probably German. And this voice said, "You will go." And I looked around and I got tingles, and I get tingles right now just thinking about it. I'm like, okay. So I get back to the United States. I go to Bible seminary, and I find my relationship. I would say I knew who Jesus was, but I didn't have a relationship. And going through Bible seminary, I needed 1 month of Bible theology just to. I basically had a choice. I'm going to believe or I'm not going to believe.
Mhm.
I've tried the other one and it did not work out whatsoever. So, and this will make you sad as musicians, as music lovers, but you'll get my story. I gave away all my Pink Floyd CDs. I still have I think I have my U2 cassettes somewhere. I don't know where they are, but I gave away all my music
Mhm.
that I had. And I have a daughter now. I'll keep her mostly out of this, but she's just mortified, still mortified when I bring up the fact that I had everything up
Oh.
through the division bell. And
Mhm.
I just had to basically do therapy and just
Hmm.
give it away. And so
Cleanse it.
from
Hmm.
there, my music I went straight into Christian music. And this is the late 90s. So we can do some research as to what was out there. And
Oh,
I
I
was
know
listening
what
to
was
what
out there.
Okay, so I start moving, and this is before YouTube, of course. So I'm trying to find
Mhm.
what's out there. It's hard to find nowadays. It's just so easy. It's so
So much
I'll listen to
easier.
this, and I can. I'll listen to this, and I can.
Mhm.
I was basically kind of floating along, but you could see my roots were basically if Metallica's Enter Sandman is like my number one song, and then AC/DC's Thunderstruck was way
Mhm.
up on my
Mm,
list too. Heavy guitar and energy in your face kind of music, and you can see where I'm going
Mhm.
if you've heard of the band Disciple. You could just it was just
same.
fate. It was inevitable for me to. So I'll fast forward a little bit because I don't know what happened to me in music in the early 2000s. I couldn't tell you, but
Life happened,
someone
just
gave
like us.
just life. Yeah, got married in '98, and we went to
Mhm.
some concerts. There was a concert in Kaiser, Salem. Oh, I'm in Oregon. I'm not that close. Amy and I are both in Oregon. We're just
Mhm.
about 4 or 5 hours apart. Or
Mhm.
Amy knows
Three.
she's driven.
Three. Three.
Okay, I have not driven to Roseburg for Disciple, but Amy's come up my way, which we'll get into. But there was a couple concerts that they had. Can't remember what it's called, but several bands. Like it was like an
Mhm.
event or a
Mm.
what do you call when like many bands
Like
come
a
in and
festival, kind of
there you go.
a. I know. I think what you're talking about, and it was Mike Silva International. Are you talking like 98?
I
No.
think it was like
No,
2001,
2000.
2002. No, that's not it. There was bands like I think Third Day was there, Audio
Oh.
Adrenaline. I really liked Audio Adrenaline.
Mm. Mhm.
And a few others. I want to say Flyleaf, but I don't think it was Flyleaf. Oh, Breaking
Oh.
Benjamin Gate. Benjamin Gate was one of them
Okay.
that was there. I don't think they're in existence anymore. But Benjamin Gate had a Flyleaf type sound. I think Flyleaf has Lacey
Mm.
Storm, and they didn't have Lacey
Yeah.
Storm. There's only one Lacey Storm,
Yeah.
um,
They did.
but
They did.
I. I like that more edgy sound. And then a friend of mine, it might have been my brother-in-law, but someone gave me this album called Scars Remain. And
Mm.
I put it in, I listened to it, and it was like love at first uh, ears, love at first sight. But
Riff.
um, yeah, love at
Yeah.
first riff. It was so in my face and so much energy,
Mhm.
and they were doing everything. I at this point in my life, I needed music that was going to be didn't hide who they believed in. I wanted to know. I don't want it to like do they believe in Jesus? Do they not? Are they, you're going online and reading, is this a Christian band? And I have no problem with secular music. I still want to do that deep dive on Led Zeppelin. Your podcast is absolutely amazing. If someone hasn't heard your podcast, I guess they are now if they're hearing, but they should listen to every single episode and then listen to it again. This is like a study of music. You guys are like writing an encyclopedia on how to study music. Just
That's
amazing.
awesome.
But with that, I personally really want to listen to with my story and what are my strengths and weaknesses and what brought me down and where I came back up. I need Christian rock music. I need Christian
Mhm.
rock to heavy metal. And Disciple, it was it. But you would think 2006, Scars Remain Jeff's Disciple fan. It took about 10 years. So we're
Mhm.
talking about that Jeff
Oh
stubborn
yeah.
and upright, one of the two, right? But Disciple moved into my top 10 or
I
so.
can't
And
see it.
last 10 years, I would say, Day of Fire, Skillet. I hate to leave
Mm.
someone out, but Thousand Foot Crutch,
Mhm.
um, those kind of bands. Thousand Foot
Pillar.
Crutch is Pillar. Oh, Pillar, amazing band, amazing music. Um, so this goes back to probably about 2019, 2020. I've been in a job for 20 years, great job, 21 years. Wonderful people, wonderful job, provided for the family. It was a good, solid 8 to 5 office job. And I was doing well there. I had moved up in ranks. I'd moved up to middle management, so I was there's my quote, living the dream, um, right?
Listen,
And um, but as I was I was feeling this pull and also a push, like a pull out and a push out. And uh, this goes back to, I think, I don't have them all memorized. Amy, I'm not an Uber Disciple fan. I'm talking to an Uber Disciple fan.
Yeah.
But
Don't ask me order of albums though. That will mess
okay,
me up. I can. Yeah. Anyway, keep going. I know that's where you're going. So
okay.
I was like, oh
So
no, don't ask me which order.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know, and I don't know the order either. But their song "Radical," it's from Attack. I know
Mm.
that it's from their
Mhm.
album
Mhm.
Attack. And
Mhm.
honestly, Attack
It's
is not my favorite
2014,
album of theirs. Okay,
2015.
20 somewhere in there. But
Oh.
5 years
Here.
after it came out, I'm just listening to Attack. I'm working from home. This might actually be pandemic time. Might be 2020, where I'm just stuck
Mm.
at home, working like this, working on computer and videos and everything, and all that. And I'm so I can play music at least in the background. And I'm working and listening, and the words from Radical just jump off the piece speakers at me. And am I a radical? Am I living like a radical? And then the bridge, may my hands, not just my mouth, but may my hands speak the glory of God. I'm probably make getting that wrong, but
No, you're not.
all that was just like bam, right on my forehead. Like, oh, I need to be a radical for Jesus. Um, and then we fast forward from there. I basically laid down that job and quit that job to become a full time pastor at this church I'm at, where Amy and I met. I'm a full time associate and youth pastor, and
Mm-hmm.
I might be the newest and oldest youth pastor in the area around here because I can remember when we got our first cell phones, and if I'm saying I'm listening to
Right.
if I'm listening to rock and roll at age 12 in the mid 80s, that can you can put two and two together and figure out, or put a lot more than two and two
Yeah,
together to figure out
I
how
think
old
we're
I
all
am.
about the same age. Wait, so Jeff,
Nice.
I just want
Okay.
to back up for a sec. So
Yeah.
you heard the song. It spoke to you. Did you quit your job to become a youth pastor?
You can put that together like that. Yes. God used more than the song. That wasn't the only way God spoke to me. God had a conversation with me about 20 years ago, and I remember it actually. Man, it was like 19 years ago, but I remember like it was yesterday. One of our cars needed some work, and we really was going to hurt us to fix it. And I'm like, I need a healing. I'm laying my hands on this car, and it's going to be healed in the name of Jesus. And the car wasn't healed, but instantly, I mean, within that second, God said, "What if I asked you to lay the car down?" I'm like, well,
Oh,
no car, no job,
Mm.
no house,
right,
no deal. And then just
right.
okay, just like wait, just like not like a shame, Jeff, for a bad answer, just a oh. And that's I mean that's a conversation. Just I remember where I was on our driveway, a house we don't live at anymore, right there having that conversation. So there's several things, but the last one and the biggest one was the song Radical. It just
Oh,
am I living radically? And when God asked me that question, I was listening to Radical, and I skipped a part. I'm listening to Radical, and I'm working, and God asked me, "What are you doing?" And I'm I think a little too quickly at times. I need to slow down, talk slower, think slower. But I didn't answer the question. I went around it and I said, "Well, every chance I have, I'm witnessing to people. I'm respectful of the rules at work. I don't just throw it in people's faces. If someone gives me an
Oh,
opening, I'll
you got
talk about it."
defensive.
Right. I went
You got
defensive. I did.
yeah, yeah.
I'm explaining and and
Mm-hmm.
justifying,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that conversation went the same as the one 19 years ago. I was like, hmm, that doesn't feel right. and and then there's a couple more things that God told me. And as I kept listening to Radical, and then I think I hope I have the dates correct on this. I think Disciple came out with they created Honor and Glory, which is Disciple
Mm-hmm.
plus their plus a bass player.
Mm-hmm.
And
Stain.
they built a worship album, and they wanted to build a worship album and a worship band that was they wanted to do it, but they wanted a separate branding, so it wasn't just Disciple. I remember hearing Kevin say they were going to call it the Kevin Young Project or something like that, and he was like, "No, no,
Okay.
no, no, that's not going to work." So they come up with Honor and Glory. To God be all the honor and all the glory is where they come up with that name. And two of their songs, oh dear, I might have written this down somewhere. Let's see, God of My Story was a big
Mm-hmm.
one, and Come Alive was the other one. Come Alive was like I need to come alive. And then God of my story, from glory to glory, behind and before me, you have been with me, Lord, through all of my victories, no, through all of my history, through valleys and victories. And I'm like, I need to make a move. So all of these things, including Radical and their honor and glory songs. And then I'm not just going to make a rash decision. I'm I'm going to stick. If I have 10 toes, I'm sticking 20 toes in the water to see what the temperature is before I make a move. Going to Europe was a huge risk for me. That was one of the biggest chances I ever took was to go overseas. Obviously had a wonderful experience. It's just an amazing place. But to lay down a job of 21 years and the security, the financial security.
Yeah.
So when I heard all this from the Lord and what the music from Disciple that God used to talk to me, I also talked to my family. I had people praying for me. I talked to a couple people at work. I probably had about 6 or 7 people speaking into me, and then the last one was, well, I'll talk to the pastor at this church, and of course he's going to see all these reasons. Like, no, 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 good, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate your heart, but um, how old are you again, Jeff? No, no, no. You pastor? No, no, no. And of course, that didn't happen. So I kept praying for God, close the door, close the door. I'm making a huge mistake. Close the door. Bam, just close the door. Let me run into the door. I'll break a nose. That's okay. Close the door. No, they're all wide open. The
You
door's
didn't.
wide open, and the more I move, the more I want it, and the more. So this gets into listening to God, and then following, which can be walking by faith is a scary thing, but it's so safe when you just give God full control. So I was feeling both a pull and a push at the same time, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, while listening to the songs, praying, reading the Bible, I also had several people contacted my family. My wife was a huge part of this. I certainly wouldn't make this leap and say, "Hey, honey, good news! I quit my job."
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
so I probably would have talked to her first, of course. And in fact, that reminds me of something I'd forgotten until just now. About 10 years ago, my wife had a dream, or a dream where she was just told, maybe it wasn't a dream, but she heard that I was going to become a pastor. And she told me that, and I about laughed off my chair when she said that. But it stuck with me. That was another one of those things that just stuck with me over the time. Was so when I told her what I was feeling, it wasn't like it was just. I can see how God totally orchestrated every step of that to get me out of a job
Mm-hmm.
that I really liked, and I still have friends, I still connect with them, but when you leave something like that, you won't, it's not the same. Now I talk to you once a month to once every 6 months versus
Mm-hmm.
seeing you every day. So there was a lot of sadness, a lot of grief with that, and I had tears. I had tears. The team that I was supervising, to say goodbye to them, that broke my heart. It truly did. But uh, with the people that were praying for me, and I kept telling God, close the doors, don't let me make a mistake. So every step I took, every person I talked to, it was all green light. um,
Wow.
my boss at my job was sad but totally understood. And honestly, if I told them I was leaving my place of employment for a competitor after 20 years, that would not have landed well. That would have been hard to say. But every time I said, well, I'm going to lay this down to become a youth pastor, everyone's like, oh, wow. And what my boss said, one of the nicest things, she said,
Wow.
the youth needs someone like you pouring into them. And it was so humbled, but I was like, oh, that means that'll bring tears to my eyes
Mm-hmm.
just thinking about that I was worthy of
Oh, so
something like
so many
that.
people believe in you. Oh, it gives me chill like to
Mm-hmm.
hear. That is so beautiful.
Yes. So
That's
that
awesome.
that gets me from, if I sum up my story, from to Poison and Guns N' Roses to Disciple, with
Yeah.
a little bit of U2 and Pink Floyd's in the middle there. That's where
Thrown
my, and today I'm at Disciple. In fact, you get the year-end reports from like Spotify and YouTube Music, and um, yeah, Disciple's like my first, second, third. I mean, they're they're all
They're in
the
your top.
songs
They're
I
in your
listen
top.
to, and
Yeah.
then I'll listen to a little. I don't know all the terms. My daughter will correct me, but something like Theocracy might be more of a progressive metal sound.
Okay.
And then we
Okay.
mentioned some of the other ones, or you mentioned before, Amy. You mentioned Pillar,
Yeah.
and
Did you
yeah.
ever get into Falling Up from Reedsport? Did
No,
you
have
ever?
not heard of them, but can I
Oh
write them
my
down?
gosh. I saw them one time in Medford with Cutlass before Cutlass went more soft. Um, and amazing show. These were kids from Reedsport, of all places. Just a little teeny weeny coastal town. You could just drive through it in an
Yes.
instant. But check out Falling Up. They're not together anymore, but they were a really cool band. Cool
Okay.
band.
We as Human was another one. They only had one
Mm-hmm.
album, and they're not together, but you've heard of them.
Yeah.
They were
Mm-hmm.
from
Mm-hmm.
Sandpoint, Idaho. They're not far
Mm-hmm.
away from us. So I'll look up
That's
Falling Up.
awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
More
Yeah.
music.
Right?
Can never
I
have enough
love
music.
although there was always like to always talk about the big New Jersey music scene. I think the West Coast
Mm-hmm.
has an amazing music scene, and you
Mm-hmm.
guys
Oh,
are proving it. Yeah.
yeah. Well, if you go back to when I started college in 1991, and 4 weeks later, Nirvana comes out with oh,
Mm.
you got to help
Was
me
it
out here.
feels
What
like
was the
feels like Teen
the
Spirit.
Yeah, it feels like Teen Spirit. I think of the album, but anyway, that Smell Like Teen Spirit was on. I mean, that was like the
Oh,
album, right?
feels like
Uh,
Teen Spirit.
so,
Sorry.
and
Yeah.
then, but also out of Seattle was Pearl Jam and Presidents of the United States of America. They're a little lesser known, but they have the
I
funniest
know
song
them.
called
Yeah.
Peaches. If you want a funny song, funny video, such a funny video. Peaches by Smells Like by Presidents of the United States of America, and then of course Green Day was from
Sad.
Longview. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
there's three bands, or four bands, right there out of the Washington area. Just amazing.
Crazy. I mean, really.
But we did.
Uh,
I can't.
So I
If New Jersey and hair metal, I'll give it up. We did not. We can't hold a candle to New Jersey hair metal.
no, we had the grunge. We had the grunge. We'll take that. And Metallica.
Oh yeah, yeah.
oh,
Okay, so
yeah, the Bay Area had quite a bit actually
we also yes.
between
Well,
Metallica,
so
Testament.
Jeff, I want to ask you. So you're a Disciple fan, and we're proving that, up and down. How did you start to work with them, or what was your
Mm,
what did you do to start working with a Disciple or to bring them for a show?
Yeah, there's a couple funny stories in there. How that came about to go from latching on a disciple in the late 2010s, whatever that decade's called,
Yeah.
to hosting disciple at our church. So when this all ties into the career change. So when I realized I was making the career change, and my wife is in full support, but it will affect us financially about making that kind of a choice change.
mhm,
I decided I haven't seen Disciple, and I'd been actually been watching their tours, and they'd get into California, and they were in Idaho, but they wouldn't come to Oregon. And uh, I was waiting and watching, and I'm like and me being sticking all the toes in the water, I'm like, boy, I bet it'd be fun to see a concert. But I've only been to like a dozen concerts in my life. I'm not like you guys do go to more concerts in one year than I go.
we try.
and my
Guilty,
and
guilty. Yes.
I've caught a few. I've caught Demon Hunter in Portland, and
Oh.
Cake was a fun one too. Talk about varieties of music, different
Mhm,
genres. But I've been to a couple, and I enjoy them each time. But it is a lot of work, and you have to, it's an all day experience. So that was holding me back, and I find that I need to go. I need to see Disciple. This is like
mhm,
this call in my heart is like I can't ignore this anymore. I've got to go. So I looked up their schedule, and they were going to Lewiston, Idaho, which is about 7 hours one way from where I'm at in Oregon.
mhm,
And so I'm like, talked to the wife, and like I've just got to go. And it was on a Saturday, so I could easily. I think I had Fridays off back then or something like that. And I took my daughter out of school because she loves all kinds of music, but
love it.
my
Go,
genre of
Dad.
music is real narrow.
Yeah.
I'm really limited, and I'll admit I'm limited to basically Christian heavy metal, rock, heavy metal, that genre. She can listen to almost everything. So, but she also likes metal too. It's in there. So, I took her with me, and I decided to purchase the bus tour experience. Just
Mm,
to, if I'm going out
Oh,
there, uh, I'm
lovely.
I'm the kind of person that I'll just like open eyes, closed mouth. I'm too afraid to say anything. Like that's Disciple, that's Kevin, that's and I had to memorize their other names. I got them down now, but I had to go like, okay,
Josiah,
who's
Joey.
Josiah, who's Joey, who's Joey, who's Josiah. The names, I'm not good on names. I'm gonna mess this up. And is it Drew or is it Andrew? Oh, good heavens, I'll get this all wrong. Um, so I had their names, and I said I'm gonna do the tour bus. I'll just be quiet. And so the tour bus experience, what they do is they keep it to about a max of 10 or so, and you
mhm,
get to go on the bus and sit basically where they would lounge and meet all four of them, and they just chat with you. It's just hanging out, and they don't have any a format or anything. They'll play some music that you haven't heard yet, but
mhm,
they're just hanging out and chatting, just like we are, like just like normal people, just hanging out. There's no prima donna. So we get on the bus and we're listening, and I'm predictably being fairly now you can hear I can talk, but in front of people, I need to stick all my 20 toes in the water first before I see
right,
what's going
right.
on. So we're listening, and the funniest part is so far, another couple drove over from Vader, Washington. I honestly don't think I had heard of Vader, Washington before,
Mm-mm.
and I lived right next to Washington my whole life. But Kevin just could not believe there's a town called Vader, Washington, and
Oh,
I've looked
he's
it
a
up since.
huge Star Wars
Star
fan.
Wars. I know.
Oh,
I'm
he
just
loved
like,
that.
oh, Vader, Washington.
Oh,
He flipped
yeah.
for it. He's like, we have to do a concert in Vader, Washington. He was stuck on that for a while, and I've looked it up since Vader's got I think about 465 people
Oh
in the town.
no.
So maybe we can do a concert in Vader, Washington. We could maybe pull our resources and put it together for
Right.
Kevin's birthday or something. I don't know, but
Seriously.
so they get around, and I finally think I probably should at least ask one question while I'm on the bus. So I raise my hand, embarrassed, like red faces. I'm sure red as can be, and they call on me. And so my only question I could think of was, how can I pray for you? I thought it'd be a nice thing. I'd hear something different
Oh.
from them.
Lovely.
I don't need to hear about the
Absolutely.
music and all that. And Josiah doesn't miss a beat. He says in English.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Josiah is
I was
so
like,
dang funny. He's
oh my
so
gosh.
funny.
I
Like
love it.
I really think he's like genius IQ because he's
Uh-huh.
so funny, he's quick, he's
So
oh
quick.
my gosh, he's
What a
hysterical.
cute
He didn't
response.
miss a beat. It was almost like he
Nope.
was ready for it. He was that,
Yeah.
you're right, Amy, he was that
He's
fast. And then Kevin lost it, which made it even funnier. Kevin just started laughing and he fell into like that curtain that in the front of the bus, the privacy curtain. He lost it for like a minute. It just basically, by no intent of myself, it's all Josiah's fault, honestly, but
yeah.
the three of
Oh,
us derailed the bus tour experience for like a minute. It was just
That's so
hilarious.
awesome.
So
That's
we
so
oh,
awesome.
so we finished the bus tour experience, and it was a wonderful moment. And then we get into the concert hall. It's fairly small. It's one of the I think it's their performing arts hall on campus at
Mm.
oh dear, Lewis Clark State College, I think. I forgot the name of the
oh,
college, but it was I've been to a few concerts, not a lot, but I've been to a few, and this was just off the charts. Their
Oh.
energy, the all of my songs that I loved. I mean, I was jumping. We were up in the balcony. I didn't want to fall over the balcony, but just jumping and headbanging, and they're just having so much fun.
Mhm.
It sounds fantastic, and then. Um, I didn't know. I didn't research their prior concerts. I just went just to experience it, and I didn't know that Kevin takes a break, or they all take a break, and Kevin brings the word. He preaches like
yeah.
as a intermission, and he preached. I recorded I started recording, and then like how long can my phone record? So I'd stop and start up,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I didn't want it to end. His preaching was better than
Yeah.
the music, as much as I love the music.
Oh,
And then they went back to the music, and my favorite
Yeah.
songs. I won't go through all the songs. I love them all, honestly. But they sang all my top songs, and I came away just like on a 10 out of 10. I was way above that, 20 out of 10.
Mhm.
Just
Mhm.
oh,
best night of my life. We had a hotel, so we got to stay and be safe and just enjoy the evening. And then drove home on this cloud nine, just like this is just absolutely amazing. While I'm driving home, I'm 2 months away from starting full time at the church, and this idea pops into my head. I'm like, I'm going to be a pastor at a church, not the preaching pastor, but I'm on staff at the church. Could I bring disciple to our church?
oh,
And then I go all the positive negatives. Our venue is we can put about 500. I think that's too small for disciple, so nope, can't do it. But what if they would? Oh no, our I love my church, love my staff, love the pastor, but Disciple it's rock to
Loud.
heavy metal. It's
Mhm.
loud, very loud.
it's still, yeah.
Um, Amazing, uplifting lyrics, but it's loud. I
Loud.
just was before this morning. I just had bad words on repeat, and when he
I heard that
starts that,
too.
oh, it's so funny when he's the whatever the first phrase is, the last line of the first phrase is "Your dark is," and then he actually pauses to get the energy. Your dark is light. He just screams it out. I just laugh every time. It's just the funniest thing. He's got so much energy and he's on point. But
Mhm.
so I'm like, it's just not a good idea. It's not going to happen. But I just keep thinking, like the thought will not leave my head. Like I cannot think of anything else. But I wonder if I can bring disciple to the church. So I I think about it. I start the job and I have a conversation with my boss, and he's such a wonderful person. He's so loving and more trusting of me than he should. No, he's very trusting, but he hadn't heard of Disciples, so I picked a couple songs. I picked Radical and
Mhm.
played it for him. And Radical is loud, but there are songs that I would say are,
Mhm.
I don't know, when
Mhm.
we say louder, Amy, we're not talking volume. We're talking what,
Yeah.
energy,
Oh my
Heavy.
gosh.
heavy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
that's yeah, heavier.
Yeah, heavier, more screaming would be, and he does a little bit of that in Radical, but like the more recent songs, Bad Words is pretty heavy, and If You Say So ends with
Yeah.
the most iconic scream that I've heard in a song,
Oh, I can't believe he's doing that live. I'm like, "Oh, Kevin."
over and over.
Um yeah, and I think Disciple has a few different, I don't want to say, it's not, they do have a few different iterations, but they have a few different styles. Like they can full on go, like I would say Attack is very much, if you had to compare it to something secular, I would say Skid Row.
Hmm.
And I think Long Live the
Mm.
Rebels is right around that. You've got some heavy riffs, but you're not, full blown um Metallica type. But then they do fully go into a lot of, uh, I would say more thrash, not necessarily thrash, but there's a little bit of screamo thrown in. There's a little bit of just rock, and it's heavy. So they kind of hit a couple different crowds, which is brilliant. It's brilliant the way that
And
Yep.
they.
you convinced him.
I did.
Sorry.
Really didn't convince him more so
That's
than he just but I didn't get it. I'm like same thing, right? Close the doors. If the door's closed, I'll be fine. Just close the doors. Doors open. I'm like, oh my goodness. Now and I'm starting to get nervous.
you're
So
like
I
it's
reach out to
happening.
just well, what's the worst that could happen? So I reach out to Disciples booking agency and make contact. And initially, there's a roadblock. There is a problem. That's okay. Doors closed. I'm okay with that. And part of me, the part of me that's afraid of new things, like, well, I don't have to deal with putting something like that on. That phew, that's a relief. I don't have to put on a concert. I've never put on a concert. I don't know
That
how to put
stress
on a
is gone.
concert.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not a promoter. I'm just a
You are
lowly youth
now.
pastor, right? who warms up to people, but actually in a big room, I'm still an introvert. I'm still that shy boy who is trying to fit in, right? So, um, I reach out to the booking agency, and they're like, well, there's a couple things, and they were so kind because I clearly had no clue. I know a lot more now than I did, but they were so kind and friendly, and it wasn't going to work, and I was okay with that. And then I have to go back and look. I didn't look it up for this, but I think it was August or maybe even September of
Oh.
2024. Got an email back and was told, hey, they have a hole in their schedule. Let's make it work anyway. Let's make it work. And I'm like this. Then I'm too exact. Like your reaction, Katya, was perfect. I'm just like, yay! But then I'm also like, oh my goodness, help someone. And um, I didn't know this amazing person named Amy Quinn yet. I didn't have any help, so
Yes.
I've got to put on a concert. This is Disciple. I can't drop the ball on this one. They're the best band on the planet. I need the red carpet. They need to love this experience. Lord help me. And um,
Oh,
so I think I had about 4 weeks to put it together.
Yeah.
Is what's in my
four
head.
weeks.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
to put together my first concert. And I can thank so many people. I
Mm-hmm.
realized I needed several teams of volunteers. I needed what's called load in. Is there like let's bring them off their trailer and get them in the door. Let's get them set up. Merchandise volunteers, tickets. How do we do tickets? I don't know how to do tickets. All these things, and then loading them up afterwards. And
Mm-hmm.
I was blessed with so many people. They just the funniest one was two people just came from distance. I hope I can throw his name out here. I didn't get
Yeah.
permission, so maybe you can save me if I'm not right. But well, I'll just say that this guy from Albany just reached me out. He just showed up at our church office, didn't call, just showed up and said, "Hey, I
Albany, New
love Disciple.
York.
How can I help?" No, from
Oh,
sorry, Albany, Oregon.
Oregon.
No, that would be an amazing story,
Oh,
Katya.
okay. Sorry.
Right,
Sorry.
right,
I was like, whoa.
No,
Okay.
I'm so sorry. I get stuck in Oregon. Lived my
right.
whole life in Oregon, other than 1 year overseas, and otherwise, no, no. So from an hour, he drove an hour. So he's like an hour south of me, 45 minutes south of
Hmm.
me, and just
Hmm.
showed up and said, "Hey, I hear you're putting on a Disciple concert. How can I help?" And I'm like, "Seriously? Is this how it happens?" And he's like,
Who was that? You know that's he's in the Rebel Society. Who was that?
"Oh yeah, Ben Garrig.
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, wonderful guy,
yeah,
amazing,
yeah.
amazing guy."
He's cool.
And yeah, and then the day of the concert, someone showed up from Roseburg and said, "Hey, I got here early. How can I help?"
Yeah, that was
That's
about right.
that's Amy. But I had about 4 weeks to scramble and put it all together, and there was a couple panic moments. I read through their agreement, which is called a
Hmm. A
rider, is when you
writer.
bring,
Hmm.
yeah, like the contract between the vendor and the band. And I read through it very carefully. I'm a person of detail. I haven't been to law school like you, Katya, but in my prior career, I dabbled in the legal world a little bit, and so details are important. And like a week before, I read this. I hadn't seen this before. It jumps out at me. Make sure your fire system is on test mode, or we may trigger it. I'm like, ah! I could just see third song,
Call
fire
an
alarm going
electrician.
off.
Yeah.
Jeff is a failure. He ruined the concert. And then I think it was about a week before, I want to say a week or two before, I'm trying to figure out their electrical. They need
Mm,
this. I feel like this is Back to the Future. I need 110 gigawatts to whatever. But
mm,
no, they need 100 amps, a breaker with 100 amps devoted to them. And it was just amazing how you can go with miraculous, you can go with coincidence. I go with miraculous. Every hurdle that we ran into, there was a solution. I just had to have the faith. I had to have the faith
Mm-hmm.
and get a lot of help. So this electrical company, I contacted them. Someone at the church had favor with an electrical company. I called them. They donated the breaker for us. They said, "Oh, I just called. I called another company, and they said, "Oh, we're out. There's this. We had this hurricane, and I
Wow.
think it was the hurricane in 2024. Was that in South
Mm-hmm. North
Carolina or
Carolina.
Miami or North Carolina? North Carolina."
It
And
was
they said,
yes. The answer is yes. It was. It
Yes,
was
yes, it was all
yes. The
there.
North
answer is
South Carolina,
yes.
yeah, really bad hurricane and a
Yeah.
lot of devastation. And
Mm-hmm.
they had donated all their whatever these things are, these 100 amp
Mm.
breakers, sent them all back east. And
Wow.
I'm like, oh, uh, how much does my generator? Oh, I can just see another disaster looming
Right.
for me.
Right.
And this company, this another company, they have several of them, and I'll just give it to you, just have it. And I have an electrician in town. I'll just have him come out and install it for you. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And
Beautiful.
so
Beautiful.
you know what I'll do? I'll give you tickets, Mr. Electrician. You can stay for free. He's like, actually, no, not my kind of music. I'll just hook them up and then I'll come back when they're done. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, seriously? So um,
Wow.
Just to,
mir- miracle after miracle brought this about, and then the concert was an absolute success. The ceiling didn't fall in. They didn't shake. They might have shaken some dust off of some
And
rafters.
and
nothing
and the
blew up.
fire alarm, the fire system didn't go off. Okay, can I just back up for a second
Yeah.
and
Oh,
just
sure.
say, what's the story behind that being in the writer? Because when I read that writer in like 2015, 2016, that was not there.
Oh, there's a story there. We probably need to talk to.
Yeah.
I was asking their two main guys that do their setup. Dane is their road manager, tour
Uh-huh.
manager, and then Josh is their sound and production.
Yeah.
And those two are in charge of the setup and the teardown. They're just amazing. They work with volunteers so well. Very cool guys. But I was telling Josh about well, I'm jumping my stories here. We got to do the second Disciple concert in a moment here, but I was asking Josh about disasters, and he was like. His version of disaster is like, no, we've never had a disaster. I'm like, well, then let's define
Oh,
disaster. His disaster is someone dies at a concert. I'm like, well, yeah, that'd be a complete
oh,
disaster.
there we go. Yeah,
My
okay.
my version of a disaster is the power shuts off or the fire system turns on,
Goes
the
off.
sprinklers come on, right?
I think this,
Ooh, all that equipment.
I think all
Yes.
of that would just add to it would enhance the experience. So I have to ask Jeff, did you during the show, did you get to enjoy it? Like, do you remember any of the show, or were you just on like mode of just getting things done and organized?
A bit of both on the first one, Katya, and I can answer that better because we'll get to I got to bring him back a second time, so we'll get to that. But the first one was more of a mode of nothing bad happen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was one of those amazing experiences where I was jumping, I was laughing, I was screaming, I was crying. It all happened in the Disciple concert, and I let go. I tried to have a blast when they did Radical. I maneuvered my way gently up towards the front. If you know music at a concert hall, the best music, and I think you've said this before, the best music is in the middle, about two-thirds back.
Mm-hmm.
You get the best
Mm-hmm.
quality.
Exactly.
I'm not at a concert. I can put on real good earbuds and get good quality music. I'm at a concert for the experience. You
Yep.
know what you guys do. What was your story, Amy? You're
Front
like in the
row.
front row waving at Def Leppard
Yep.
and
Yep.
uh,
Barricade or bust, man.
Barricade,
exactly.
yeah.
Uh, and someone you had a funny story. You're one of your guests had a story about someone's trying to give you a pick and you didn't know or something happened that was
That
funny
was
just from
Amy.
being
That was Amy.
okay.
She was
Yeah.
Amy and a mental pick,
she
right?
was
Yeah, that was Vivian Campbell.
firehouse.
Yeah, look,
Oh,
here we
Vivian
go.
Campbell. That was
Oh,
Vivian.
This is where this is you
oh,
can see it's a treasure. It's literally right here. It's like
that's so
right
cool. Your
there.
pickpocket,
My
so funny.
pickpocket.
Wait, so
Yep.
Right.
wait, this was, and Jeff, I didn't realize that you brought them out twice.
Hmm.
Yeah, so let's go through that.
I love this part of his story. I can't wait for you guys to hear the rest.
Thank you, Jeff. Amy, he's great.
Hmm.
He's inspirational,
Hmm. Yep.
and he is keeping the music alive.
Yeah.
So that was fantastic.
Don't forget that we are giving away a Rock the Life t-shirt. So for your chance to win, simply go to our Instagram page at Rock the Life Girl, hit that Reels button and share any reel that you want onto your stories and just make sure that you tag us. I have a highlight for every tag that comes through, and from that's where we'll be choosing our winners from on May 15th. So
Fantastic.
make sure you do that and follow along with us on our socials, pretty much just Instagram at this point. And is there anything else, Katya?
Just don't
No, I
forget,
don't think so. Don't forget. Rock the life.
rock the
Oh my
life.
word. Bye.
Bye, babes.